I hope you're having a great day today. I've decided to dive into colouring Lady Spring again, this time with my Colleen coloured pencils. Now, I'm using the 72 set of coloured pencils, and unfortunately they do not have names or numbers on them. So if you're trying to follow along with me, you'll just have to go by eye, I'm afraid. Now, if you haven't seen this gorgeous colouring book before, I'll put a link to it below. The great thing about it is that it's a compilation book with a number of artists, and I've already coloured one of these gorgeous pictures before by this artist in a previous video, but this time I thought I'd colour another, and this time using my Colleen pencils rather than my old fave Prismacolors. So what I'm going to do is colour one element of the picture in real time, because it has a lot of elements that are the same, like the flowers on the grass and whatnot. And then I'll colour the rest offline so it's not boring for you. And if I'm colouring the same thing, like a leaf or daffodil or something, it'll be all the same colours for all of them. And this page will be more than one video to finish. So, of course, one of the things that attracts me to this picture is the ladybug. I actually adore ladybugs, and when I was young and very, very silly, I used to collect them and make them little beds of cotton wool in a matchbox with holes punched in them. And like a lot of kids, I was just fascinated by these tiny creatures and their cute spots and the different colours of their shells. And it was a long time before I realised that there were so many different types of ladybugs, that there are just so many species, and maybe I wasn't even collecting a ladybug. Now, in Australia and the US, we tend to call them ladybugs, but I think in the UK they're known as ladybirds. And despite the different names, they all belong to the family of beetles, which actually has over 4,500 species worldwide in this, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, Coconellidae. Coconellidae. I don't know. I'm not an entomologist. These tiny beetles with their range of bright colours and spots have made us fall for them even throughout history. It's not just a recent love affair. But not all ladybugs are the same. The most common ladybug in the US is the Asian ladybug, which has a lovely fancy name, but we'll just call it the Asian ladybug. Now, they're sometimes known as harlequin ladybugs too, and it's actually considered a pest. They're known as the ladybug's evil twin. Now, they're similar to ladybugs, but the spots are different, and they can be identified by this sort of white-looking M where the head is over the body. So if you're actually looking at it and you look at the ladybug where the head is, and it's not going to be in like bright white Posca, it's just going to have like this sort of shadow of an M where the head is over the body, and you need to look pretty closely to see it. But like all ladybugs, they also gobble up aphids, so gardeners are really happy with them. But the problem is that's not where they stop. They've got really hefty appetites, and they can extend to non-pest insects as well, so things like beautiful monarch butterflies and their beautiful eggs and their larvae, which will give us more beautiful monarch butterflies, which are stunning and, not that many around. And these are the little pesky critters that can also bite. When I first met David, he kept telling me that he had been bitten by a ladybug, and I just really laughed my head off at it, because my experience with ladybugs is collecting them in matchboxes, and, I never got bitten by a ladybug. But I was surprised to discover he was actually right. They can bite. But it wasn't a ladybug. He had the evil twin, the Asian ladybug that bit him. So not really a ladybug. It's not really fair that they all get, put in the same compartment. But unfortunately, they all really look alike. And unless you're sort of sitting there and counting spots and know about it, you don't really think to categorise them. You just go, oh, cute ladybug. And I've never actually looked at my colouring books to see if they're Asian ladybugs or real ladybugs, or maybe another part of the species as well that are included, because I don't know that our artists are counting the spots either. I don't know. Maybe they are. Anyway, these bites, they're not poisonous or really painful, but sometimes in humans they can actually cause pink eye. And if dogs eat them, they can actually cause a lot of problems. And sometimes, if you've got a dog that does tend to eat everything, it's bitter with goat, then, they might actually have problems from digesting these Asian ladybugs. Now, although ladybugs are as acute as a button, they're also formidable predators in the insect world. And both actually adults and the larvae feast on aphids, insects, mealybugs, spider mites, and many other sort of soft-bodied pests. And this makes them really invaluable, can't do my words today, allies to farmers and gardeners alike, because obviously they're eating the pests, good news. Big thumbs up to ladybugs. But they also supplement their diet with pollen, and they actually help in pollination. So great stuff for bees. One of the most common legends about ladybugs actually dates back to the Middle Ages in Europe. And farmers, they were really desperate to save their crops from aphids, and they prayed to the Virgin Mary for help. And miraculously, the ladybugs arrived in swarms. They devoured the pests, they saved the crops, and the grateful farmers named these beetles Our Lady beetles, which then evolved into the name that we use today, ladybugs or ladybirds or lady beetles. And it's not just Europe. In 1888, an Australian ladybug was actually imported into California for a pest control experiment, and that experiment actually helped triple California's orange crop. So you are welcome. Later on, throughout the years, women in the Victorian era also believed in ladybugs and their absolute powers, and they were associated with all sorts of new pretties. So rather than saving crops, they were there to deliver new fashions. So if a ladybug landed on your head, it'd be a new hat. If it was on your hand, it'd be some new gloves. Nowadays, many don't believe it will bring you fashion accessories like the Victorians, but if a ladybug lands on you, your wishes will come true. So I guess I better have some wishes in mind for next time I'm in the garden, in case I come across a ladybug or two. But most likely I'm probably going to come across an Asian ladybug, and they're not the same. There's no wishes there, so I don't know. I'll have to start counting spots and bringing my magnifying glass and making sure I keep it away so I don't burn it in the hot Queensland sun. But the tale of ladybugs isn't just about their role as saviours of crops. Over the past 2 decades, native ladybug species have actually dramatically declined. And while non-native species have flourished, scientists have been really puzzled by this rapid change and its potential impact on ecosystems. They aren't sitting in their labs doing nothing, though. They actually started the Lost Ladybug Project. Now, this is actually a citizen science initiative, and it was launched by Cornell University in the year 2000 to track and conserve these vital insects. So citizen science projects basically get the community and the wider world involved in these projects, because obviously it is a big project. You really need to have a lot of feet on the ground, and those feet basically need to be voluntary. They can't be paid, or otherwise they would just not be able to fund these sorts of projects. Now, the Lost Ladybug Project invites people of all ages to photograph and document ladybugs, and they upload that to a site. It actually helps researchers understand the changes in their populations. And don't worry if you don't know the difference between the bugs if you want to take part in the Ladybug Project. They have loads of info on their website to help you identify what you're looking at, But the most important thing is to actually photograph and document the details of the sightings. And in 2006, so just 6 years into this project, there were actually two young citizen scientists, Jolene and Jonathan Penhale. They actually made headlines by discovering or rediscovering the rare 9-spotted ladybug in New York. Now, this discovery just really reinvigorated all the efforts to find and protect other elusive ladybug species so that they don't die out, and so that scientists can learn more about how they impact on the environment. But not all ladybug stories are so heartwarming. So let's take a detour to the bizarre and the somewhat weird world of ladybug raids. Now picture this. It's May of 2015 and there's a group of teenagers in Morganzar in Maryland in the USA. And they decided to pull off a graduation prank. What they did was release over 72,000 ladybugs into Chopticon High School. Now, what started as a prank quickly became a criminal investigation. So students arrived at the high school on May 20th and they found thousands of ladybugs swarming through the hallways. One girl said, "I saw one ladybug just pass me and then all of a sudden there was like 1,000. The investigation revealed that around 3:40 a.m. in the morning, 5 individuals who'd hidden their identities, they had on masks and hoodies and whatnot, they actually forced open a door at the school while 2 others sort of waited for them in the car park in the getaway car, and they then entered the building and let the ladybugs loose. Now, the intruders, there were 6 of them, they were current students and one was a former student. They actually released the ladybugs throughout all of the school buildings, and one of the group had actually ordered the ladybugs on the internet. He purchased them from sites like eBay and Amazon for $100. Yeah, I know, right? In case you're thinking, who does that? And not only that, it wasn't only just these 6 students. There was about 75 senior students who also donated money to help pay for the bulk ladybug purchase. So when you're buying your books or your pencils in bulk, at least you're not buying 75,000 of them at once. Well, I hope you're not, because that's a lot of pencils. But in case you're wondering, yes, you can buy ladybugs in bulk. Many gardeners buy them this way in order to control pests in their gardens. Now, the 4 teenagers out of those 6, they faced charges of burglary, property destruction, disruption of school activities, and they were released into their parents' custody. The 3 others, they were over 18. They were charged by criminal summons, and it took 7 employees about 4 hours to clean up the ladybugs. Now, thankfully, they didn't have to count how many were collected, but I think there were ladybugs for days, and I don't think they ever got all of the ladybugs that were a part of this ladybug raid. Now, sadly, I think the ladybug cleanup involved them actually being vacuumed up, and who knows what then happened to them. I really shudder to think. But students were actually pretty peeved about their classmates being arrested, and according to Fox 5, there was actually a protest, and one student held up a sign that was pretty funny, so I thought I'd include it here. It said, "If ladybugs are bad, try our school lunch," which I thought was pretty funny, because I know in the US you have these lunches that are part of a student's life that they get catered to, and, hot lunches or whatever they are. So I thought that was pretty funny. In case you're wondering, in Australia we generally have canteens and you can purchase a sandwich or a pie or whatnot, but we don't have the same sort of system that you seem to have in the USA. So they weren't actually the first group of senior high school students that actually thought that this was a good idea to let loose a ladybug swarm. So in 2013, there were some seniors from another high school in Vermont, and they went a bit slower. They released 20,000 ladybugs um, Randolph High School, and the principal, he said, look, it wasn't done with any sort of malicious intent. It was just a senior prank, and it just wasn't well thought through. Now, the reason that it's not well thought through is that they can actually cause a lot of damage, and they can cause not only damage to buildings and whatnot, but they can also cause damage to the environment when released in such large numbers. But although it was sort of meant to be just fun, it reminded people of the potential consequences of doing such mass releases. One of the reasons that the ladybugs have such bright colours is to serve as a warning to predators about their bad chemical defences that they have. They can actually play dead, and they can secrete this sort of foul-tasting fluid when threatened. But despite these sort of defences that they have, they can still fall prey to other insects like spiders and toads. And so they're not only pest controllers, but they're also biodiversity indicators. So when they're around, they signal a healthy, balanced ecosystem, but let too many loose in an environment that's not prepared for its swarm, and it can cause an imbalance in the ecosystem, and then they can fall prey to all of these other animals and the other insects, etc., that can have a domino effect on everything else. So these sorts of things, really need to be controlled. But not all mass releases of ladybugs are pranks. Some are done for likes. So in December of 2020, there was a TikToker called Wishlist18, and he posted a video that said, "Hey TikTok, apparently 100,000 ladybugs costs only $75. So if this video gets 30 likes, I'll buy 100 million ladybugs and do a ladybug invasion in New York City." Now, just comment ladybug raid in the comments if you want to see me do it. So immediately the comments were filled with followers urging for a ladybug raid in the next 18 months. The video received 8.8 million plays, 2 million likes, and it seemed like people really wanted a ladybug raid. Fortunately, there were eventually some people advocating for the environmental impacts that this would have, but they were really outnumbered. And despite getting what he wanted, there was no ladybug raid. But that wasn't the end of it. By April of 2022, another TikToker under the handle of Arkaslow reposted that video, and many people assume that this is actually the same person using a different username. But unlike in 2020, Arkaslow actually appeared to follow through with his ladybug raid. Days later, he posted a TikTok that showed thousands of ladybugs swarming rocks in a park, with swarm 1 of 25,000 has been released in Central Park, and I presume that's Central Park in New York. And within 3 weeks, that video received roughly 2.6 million plays and over 200,000 likes. 2 days later, near the end of April, he posted another video, and this time it was showing a legal document that allegedly stated someone had filed a $350,000 lawsuit against him for releasing the ladybugs under the intent to environmentally terrorise New York in a vigilante matter. Now, this video TikTok received 1.8 million plays, 90,000 odd likes, and that was just in 2.5 weeks. So on April the 25th, the same TikToker, he posted another video, and this one, he was planning another insect invasion to ensure that the ladybugs didn't cause harm. He was actually at a cricket farm so that he could buy some crickets, they could eat the ladybugs and therefore not cause harm to the environment. Yeah, right. So at the end of the video, there was no evidence of him buying the crickets and releasing that. So thank God, no cricket raid, hey? But at the end of the video, there was an image of him on a flight from New York to Colombia. And it looked like he was planning to get out of Dodge to avoid these legal proceedings. And over the course of 2.5 weeks, that video received over 1 million plays and over 40,000 likes. Then everything went quiet. No more videos were posted on his account until May of 2022. And he then had this dramatic video that showed his ankle with an ankle bracelet on it. There wasn't any accompanying text, but so meant to be up to the viewer to assume that he had been caught and he was now on house arrest. Now, in this video, he also indicated that the first guy that created that very first video wish list, he said he was the person who ratted him out, and that's the reason that, he got the legal proceedings and had to get out of Dodge. Now, this video received about 1 million plays and over 30,000 likes. So it's sort of same in the likes and plays category. Now, most people, though, believe that the Ladybug raid never happened, and it was just really a ploy for TikTok fame. There's actually no evidence that the Ladybugs were released, and who knows? There is a whole Central Park website. There's no indication on that they were released, and I couldn't see any evidence of anyone being arrested for charges against releasing ladybugs. So it also seems a bit bizarre to me that the TikTok creator's account details would have been found so quickly and legal proceedings would have started, because the investigation process to uncover someone's identity on a platform like TikTok is incredibly slow, if not impossible sometimes, depending on how it's been set up. And the legal system is even slower. So I'm just not buying it. Although I'm not an expert on US law and process, the whole thing just doesn't add up to me. And personally, I think the whole thing was a hoax, and that both creators of the videos that were uploaded were the same person. And they probably have other TikTok accounts, maybe not, that are prank related. But I'd love to know if anyone else has any further knowledge of this story, because at this stage, I'm just going to believe that the whole Ladybug raid was a hoax. I'm just not buying it. And I'm not alone in that belief. There are many other people that also believe that it was a hoax. So, and I hope that I'm right, and I'm hoping that everyone else is right as well, because releasing that many ladybugs without thinking it through is just not appropriate for the environment and the natural surroundings, and also for other insects and creatures that share that ecosystem. So I think it's a hoax. I'd love to know if you think it's real. I'm really thinking that it was just all a big setup for likes and views. Now, in 2013, though, the Central Park Conservancy released 140,000 ladybugs into the wildlife meadows, but that was done under supervision, and it was controlled and well thought out plan, and that was to combat some harmful insects that they have in that area. And similarly, the city of Regina in Canada, they do mass releases of ladybugs as well. They actually have an annual ladybug release event, and that again is also to reduce pesticide use, and they release over 200,000 ladybugs each year. So if you want to see a big swarm, they're the places to go, I guess. But the ladybug populations, they are declining due to climate change, habitat loss, and of course the use of pesticides. This decline disrupts the ecosystems. It affects other species that rely on ladybugs for food. It affects pollination, and conservation efforts are just really trying to reverse this trend. And a lot of that involves things like the Ladybug Project, where they're getting individuals involved, or citizen scientists, as they call them, and they're trying to just foster this collaboration between the general public and conservation areas to try and help the ladybug population. So if you would like to get involved in that, you can visit the Ladybug Project or the lostladybug.org. I think both of those places, both of those websites have information on them. But it's just kind of sad that they're so beautiful, they're so cute, and they have such a positive impact on our ecosystems. And now they're being used for stupid pranks and stunts, and I don't know. But I know one thing. I love having them in our colouring books, whether they are the proper ladybugs or the Asian ladybugs, evil twin. I don't know. I just love both of them. I'm going to put a link to that Lost Ladybug project down below, because I'm not sure if I've got the name right, if it's something that you do want to be involved in. But all I know is that I can't get enough of them. I love them in every book. If there's a little tiny ladybug just sitting on a leaf, I'm in. I just want to give that a colour and make it red. And although, a lot of them tend to be orange, but I mean, out of the 4,500, I mean, who knows? There's even one that's got a blue shell. Can you believe it? I mean, we can have these ladybugs in every colour going, and the amount of spots and the different spots. And when you see them all up close and you see all the pictures of all the different species, or just even, 20 of them, it's really easy to tell then that they are really quite clearly different, because some don't even have spots, they're more of a splodge. But when you're just seeing them randomly in the garden, they all tend to look the same to me. I don't know. I'd love to know what you think. Anyway, I'm going to finish up this part of the picture now, and I will be back next week completing the rest of the picture. As I said, I think it's going to take more than one video to complete the picture. And so I will finish the rest offline and come back next week and do another part of the picture with you guys. But in the meantime, I would love to know if you are a ladybug or a ladybird person. Which one do you use? I tend to use them both, ladybug, ladybird, lady beetle, mostly ladybug, I think. And that's it for me. Until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.